What's good, everyone? This is Dr. Nee Darko. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that you're always up to date on the new uploads as well as alerts on this show. The other thing that you can do to help build this community is make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know what you like, what you don't like about the show, and ultimately, let us know who's winning these arguments, because I need to know that I'm beating Renee in these debates. Run the tape. This is from Coffee Black MD.
So you were willing to say that user.
I couldn't see the name of the other person. It just took too long.
The other one I think was like Pretty Beaker, but I couldn't see it.
Coffee Black says, I know working these nights are slowly killing me faster, and a decade ago it didn't bother me too much. But now that I'm playing in the back nine of this mortal existence, I find this realization depressing and dissatisfying. Who will do the work if I don't? I'm getting to the point where I don't care who does it any longer. Everything else I'm doing outside of my employed work is in pursuance of leaving the ICU and these nights behind. I've done my duty, not my problem.
NMP.
Hey, listen, man, I'll just leave it like this. Those nights it's a different animal. My mother did nights as a nurse, a nursing aide for at least 15 years, 20 years. And I feel like it aged another 30 years on her. Like the amount of, what we should have did is we should have looked up, like, there's got to be some PubMed articles that talk about what night shift does to you in terms of your circadian rhythm, how tired you are. Like for me, the biggest thing is like when you get home from a night shift, like, is that breakfast really, or is that dinner? If you want to work out, like if you want to spend time, like does all of this work? Is it in reverse? So I like to do night shift, mainly because, I like to put out fires, and then during the daytime, I like to be out. But also at the same time, I like to do daytime in a certain fashion. But I'm not gonna lie, like night shift while you're doing it, like in the night shift is okay. It's the afterwards, like how do you recover when you're finished with your night shift? And it takes, like, for me, 3 to 4 days to really get back into a regular rhythm where I'm sleeping during the daytime and not, being up at night. That's where I struggle. And you can tell, like, I'm way more irritable the next couple of days after I finish a night shift.
Which isn't saying much because you're always irritable.
Well, that's true. That is true. But it stands out more, right? It stands out more when I'm doing night shift. And I think there's something to be said about night shifts really tax the hell out of you, which I think is the reason why a lot of people always ask for like a pay differential. Right? People say, look, if I'm working nights, you have to pay me more because I want more compensation for these crazy ass nights. But then I think in there also is a little bit of that quote unquote moral injury, which is like, if I don't do night shift, then who the hell is going to do the night shift, which is a bit of like that moral injury and a bit of that, what's the word I want to say? The martyr syndrome also, so I don't know. Look, not my problem is an approach that I don't want to describe as the way that you have to look at it, but there has to be a point where everybody has to basically check out, right? Like there's a point where you have to check out and it's like, this is not my issue anymore. You go, the next person handles it. I see that a lot. One of the jobs that I have Tiger Text, which I absolutely can't stand.
Hey, Tiger Text.
If anybody's listening,
I don't care.
There's different types of Tiger Text out there. There's Amion messaging. There's Tiger Text. Kiara, basically what it is imagine anybody in the hospital being able to get in touch with you through messaging on an app, right? And it sends messages through you that are HIPAA compliant through your phone, right? And anybody can send you a message, right? And when they send you this message, they can tell if you read it, and they can tell if you haven't read it or not. And there's a lot of times where I think I don't like these apps because it decreases the barrier for people to reach you and to, like, in essence, information dump. So i.e., like, I think for nurses, it completely takes them off the hook. So if things are very important and they need to get in contact with you, great, contact me. You can call me, you can text me, that's fine. But there are things that are really not that big of a deal, but because it's just information that they don't want to deal with anymore and they just want to unload, they will call you or they will text you about things that, in essence, not all of them, but I'm just saying what it does is just makes it easier for them to get in contact with you. So at 2:00 in the morning, you may get called about a potassium that's like 3.4, which to you, that's not that big of a deal. Like, we can talk about this at 7:00 in the morning, right? And I'm using that as an example, but there's times where doctors will consult other doctors with this app and send messages. And I'm like, I think you should call somebody. I think as a doctor, you should call another doctor to say, hey, listen, I need to consult you for X, Y, and Z reasons.
That's not even an option anymore.
Because of this, right? But now with Tiger Text, you literally take a picture of the patient's face and you take a picture of their picture in the EMR system. The MRN number is already there. And then you write and text what the diagnosis is. And then that's it. No context, no connotations. And then that person figures it out and then they leave their note. I don't like that.
Neither.
Right? Because I need to know exactly why you're contacting me. What's the issue? Do I need to respond immediately or not? And so forth. So all of those apps I really don't like. But the gist of me bringing it up is these apps, a lot of times the apps will say when you're off and when you're not off. But there's an option where people can bypass that. They can bypass the do not disturb option and still contact you even after hours. Yeah.
So there's no boundary.
Right. Right. You can put do not disturb on Tiger Text, but if the message is priority enough, it could bypass that and get you a message. So for me, I log off completely. When my shift is over, I log off because I don't want any messages. Whatever it is, I'm not on.
If it's that important, you need to call.
Right. That's how I feel about it. So I think that one, there's no boundaries, which is an issue. But also at the same time, I just feel like working at night is very abnormal. That's just not the way how our bodies work. So I could see what that person is going through because it's a struggle.
Yeah. I mean, the issue, right, is that it's kind of like when my nephew was 13 years old and I think he had hurt his leg or whatever. And we were like, come on, hurry up. We got to get to the hospital. And he goes, well, what time does the hospital close? And I said, well, the hospital does not close. Right. And that's the issue, is that hospitals cannot close. Like that is, they just can't. Right. They can't close. And so somebody has to do those nights. You just got to figure out if you are the person who is best suited to do those nights, right? If you are okay with being a doctor, but you are not okay with working a certain shift or, working in a certain setting, I think this is really, really, this particular tweet or whatever what do they call it? Tweets now? X's?
They're just, ain't nobody saying X's.
Okay. I'm like, what?
It's tweets. It's tweets, man.
Post. We'll call it post. This particular post really highlights, You can
even see here, look, here are the ABG results. We'll upload to EHR when it's back. It seems convenient, right?
Yeah.
But
this is not the way that it should really be done, but that's okay. And younger generations may disagree with us. But somebody's got to work the nights. You have to figure out, right? This post is a really, really, really good, example of someone who potentially is working in a fashion that doesn't really suit him, right? He probably needs a different environment if he indeed still wants to be in medicine, right? So he doesn't have to work nights, right? That is almost kind of his choice, basically, to work nights. Like he gets to choose how he wants to work based on the job that he takes. And so if this is not something that, he wants to do, then the question is, well, sir, should you be moving on to somewhere else? Right? Like I need to play devil's advocate here because it's not like someone kidnapped him and made him work in the hospital at night. Right? This is just kind of the way things work. Like just because the hospital needs someone at night doesn't mean that that's the job that you should be taking. And maybe you should just take another job.
I'm not speaking for him, but I know a lot of people will take nights because it works for their kids. Mm-hmm. I don't understand that part.
Wait,
I don't get that part.
What do you mean?
One of the comments actually mentioned that, what does it say? It's like, no one remember all the long hours you worked except for your children, which is funny because you actually mentioned that with your mom. You're like, oh, when you were a kid, my mom used to work the night shift, and it's like, you don't really think about that.
Right.
Yeah. I can't understand. To this day, I still don't understand the rationale behind working nights because it's better for the kids. I think.
No, you work nights because it's better for the kids so that you can be home during the day.
You'd be home during the day.
Yeah. You'd be home during the day.
But then they are at school by the time you get home,
Yes,
or
but you
getting
can
ready to go
still
to
make
school.
it to their
Yeah,
stuff,
but you
their
can still
events,
make it
their
right.
activities, their trips, their
Exactly.
parent-teacher conferences, their
Exactly.
performances.
Right.
Okay, that's the reason why.
Right. Because if you
And then
think
you leave,
most
and then
night
you
shifts,
leave before they go to bed.
right.
You leave
You might
before.
leave right before they go to bed. So most night shifts will start between what, between 6 and 8 p.m., depending on where you're working, right?
Mhm.
So between 6 and 8 p.m. I mean, your kids are home from school. You've cooked them dinner. You might have even taken them to, some sort of event, some extracurricular activity, or if they had something at school, you woke yourself up, in the middle of the day and you went. Or if there was a meeting that you had to have with their teacher, you were able to make it. So it makes complete sense. The question is just, is that worth it? Right. And I don't know if he has kids, but is that worth it for him to do? And if that is worth it, then yes, he will just have to endure those nights. That's just what will have to
Well, I
happen. He'll
mean,
have to endure those nights, or wait, or he has to find a different way of working.
yeah, and you guys aren't locked in. Just so everybody who's
Right.
listening,
You're not locked into
you can do
this.
whatever you want to do and change it up, within the scope of what's out there. So
Right.
if you don't like nights, then switch to days. And if you don't like days, then you're going to have to do something different. But I just think that what I tell, like, there was a med student on the service a couple weeks ago. He's interested in going into trauma critical care. And I told him, like, the reason why I love trauma critical care is because I could do three different things. I could do trauma, I could do critical care, and then I could do general surgery. And in this job that I'm doing right now, I'm doing it all together. But there are things about it that I don't like, and I'm learning, and I have been able to kind of push certain things out that I don't enjoy as much. And then also at the same time, there's like lifestyle things that I really appreciated that I think 10 years ago, if you asked me about it, I probably would not share it, but now I'm very open with sharing it. Like when I'm on, I'm on. When I'm off, and that's it. I enjoy taking care of other people's complications, and, I enjoy signing out and, realizing that, although we don't want complications when they occur, it's not necessarily the end of the world, so to speak, right? Like if somebody else finds it and fixes it and so forth. I think that's the big thing is there's a lot of folks who are, low key control freaks, and they're like, well, I don't want this to occur. And it's like, well, they stay on and then you're tired. And it's like, well, you staying on to do a 30-hour shift, is that really worth it to the patient, as opposed to maybe signing out after 12 hours,
And
letting a
getting
fresh
someone
person
fresh.
and go from there. And what I've seen is that there's less errors, there's less mistakes, there's less takebacks to the OR because people make mistakes. So in general, like from a surgical perspective, I always give men and women the same advice and say, listen, like if you're looking for a lifestyle, or if you're looking for a job or a profession or a specialty that works and gives you the best of both worlds, where you can operate and kind of, still have your life, I think ER obviously is very, is compatible with that. Trauma is compatible with that. I don't know about OB. OB is really difficult right now.
So I was going to, it's so funny that you're going on this point, because I was actually going to say something that's kind of the opposite of what you're saying, right? Because I'm OB, I get a lot of young women, especially, who will contact me. They're either in med school or about to enter, or they're pre-med, and they're like, well, I really like OB, but, the lifestyle, it's not conducive to like a family lifestyle or whatever. And then once I start telling them how I work, they're like, how in the world are you doing that? Like, what do you mean you're with your kids majority of the days of the week? And I'm like, majority of the days of the month, I'm actually with my kids. Like, so I think there needs to be a shift in how students are, and even full-fledged doctors are looking at how they work in their specialties, right? There's a very traditional way of looking at, well, does ER give us the good lifestyle that we want? Yes. Great. Check ER as something I want to do. Does internal medicine do that? Maybe no. It doesn't do that. So no, I won't do that. Like, those days are gone, right? And especially because the way that people are practicing now, with us doing locums, with people being, surgicalists and hospitalists and things like that, like those traditional ways of looking at these professions is done. You don't have to be an OB that goes into the office 6 days, 5 days a week, and then be on call the 6th day of the week. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. you know?
There was this article.
So,
I never got a chance to read this article full-fledged, but this was one of those things where you see this young doctors want work-life balance. Older doctors say that's not the job, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, it's going to be the job when you retire.
Right. Exactly.
That's just the way it is, you know?
Really,
And
the younger generation, and I say that loosely because I'm not that old.
what's up with the subscription, yo? Anyway, real quick, yo, let's talk about the subscriptions, yo. Yo, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, CNN.
Give it up for free.
Damn, man.
Yo,
everybody wants a subscription, yo.
Like, you make your money off the ads. Just like, come on. It's $1.
Damn. Anyway, go ahead, Kiara. We cut you off, yo. This is the last point. Go ahead, yo, because we got to end this show.
The younger generation is, they're very adamant and firm on their boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the older generation has an issue with that just in general, because they grew up with the go, go, go mentality, whereas we watched them. You know, we watched them struggle. We watched them go hard and whatnot, work themselves to the bone. And then it's like, what do you get at the end?
Right.
So it's like you didn't get to travel. You're not even happy with your job. You weren't home for your kids. We're all like in our 30s now, and you're mad because you missed us as children. And
I think you're missing one point. Another point is the reason why medicine is the way how it is right now is because y'all old fogies. Y'all the one who messed it up for us.
They sold it. They sold it to big corporations.
You know, I think that's the other perspective that I think a lot of younger doctors are like, y'all messed it up.
Mm-hmm.
And now you mad that now we're kind of taking it back in a way that you wish you could have taken it back. You see that in every industry. You see that in sports. You see like older basketball players are upset with the newer basketball players. Why y'all making so much money? Y'all not as skilled as us, X, Y, and Z. How is it that you're able to determine you're not going to play all these different games? It's like, listen, old fogey, like, don't be mad because now I'm able to just really be very clear about what I want, what I don't want, when I'm going to play, all these different things.
Right.
It's the same thing that you see in medicine.
That's what it is.
Correct.
We're not yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah. It changed.
The
landscape has changed.
The landscape
has
yes,
changed.
Just let's go.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
You should
like,
you should be happy that you even have this opportunity, kind of thing.
But then there's also, there's give and take, right? Like experience. Yeah, the ability to see certain cases, the ability to see certain things that, if you spend a significant amount of time in a hospital that you may not be able to see, comfort level, all those different things play a role. And for us to not say that or mention that, like, we'd be remiss if we didn't say that.
He loves that word.
It'd be remiss if we didn't say that. So yeah, there's a give and take, right? There's a give
I will
and take.
say this though, having lived up north and in bigger cities like California, San Diego area-ish, and living down in the South is completely different. Up north, it's very go, go, go. Everything's open. Like if I want to go to Walmart, it's 24 hours.
Right.
Over here, Walmart closes at like 10. Some stores don't open on Sundays.
Right.
You cannot go to the liquor store on a Sunday. Whereas up north, you got every day of the week. It's some doctors don't open on Wednesday. Like Wednesday's a half day here. So if you want to go, you got to go before like 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
You got a Piggly Wiggly near you too, right? Don't you?
I actually do.
I
do.
It's like Mama's family over there.
Yeah.
I've never been in though, but we do have at least two of them about 20 minutes from where I am.
Piggly Wiggly. Go down to the Piggly Wiggly.
All right,
I'm going to tell you right now, you can't get me to go back north.
Really?
You just can't.
Like Jersey or like New York? I know New York is out of the picture, right?
No, New York for sure is out of the picture. But just in general, just up north. First of all, it's expensive for no reason up there. It's overcrowded and expensive.
Like, who's moving to New York? Like, I want to know who's moving to New York. Like, seriously. Like, especially, like, if you're a doctor, like, are you moving to New York? Or if you're a medical student?
I think there's a lot of young people who are very interested in going to New York and they want to experience
because of the dream, of, just the big city and just because they think that that's what it's about. And it's like,
Yeah, it's not that.
Well, they got to experience it first. Let them experience it first. Let them see.
I won't ruin it for
Let them
you.
see.
Spoiler alert.
Let them see 50% or 75% of their check go towards housing.
Exactly.
Like, let them see
Let
it.
them
And
complain about going on strike.
let them
I
come
see
home.
it all the time
Let them
where it's
come
like
home and not find parking and have to drive around their block like 30 times until somebody moves their car.
Right. Or
Yes.
taking the train where it's dirty as hell.
You got to live through that. You know what I'm saying? You got to live through that.
There's a guy who's, I don't know, he comes across my feed every now and then where he actually views apartments in New York. And it's like, I'm not even lying. I wish I was lying. It's like a box.
Yes.
It's a box.
I've seen it.
And he's like, yeah, here's your kitchen. And I'm like, this is, and then he'll be like, yeah, it's like $3,500 a month. And I'm like, for a box?
Yes.
I can
and you got a
build
shared
that.
bathroom. And you have a shared bathroom.
Yes.
You don't even have a bathroom in your apartment.
And I'm
it's
laughing.
basically
I'm
a
laughing.
hostel.
I've lived, like when I was younger, I lived in a basement with my mom, my sister in a studio. Okay. And to divide it, my mom put up curtains. That was our bedroom. We had our little kitchen with a little table, and this makeshift, living room. Now, look, I'm not ungrateful. Honestly, I turned out okay, right? But there were times where we were latchkey kids, right? My mom used to tell us, once you go in the house, do not open that door. So there were times I would actually have to use a bucket to use the bathroom, my sister and I. Because our bathroom was actually, we had to go out, go through the hallway into the back.
Yeah.
Where the bathroom was. Where there was another apartment. There was another, there were renters in the apartment in the back. And there was a kitchen back there, but the kitchen belonged to the man who lived upstairs.
So he could access it at any time.
Yes. And we shared that bathroom with the man upstairs. So he would come down to use the bathroom. Yeah. And me and my sister, we're small. We're about 11, 12 years old. And so she wouldn't let us do that. And I didn't ever ask her. I should ask her how much she used to pay. But I'm like, I can't even imagine that situation for her.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen those type of apartment situations in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Manhattan.
Absolutely.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So y'all thinking about moving to New York. Good luck.